Hello, meat maniacs,
Meat freaks,
meat lovers,
and meat makers.
meat makers.
Especially, yes.
Today we're gonna do it meat. Wow. Yeah. Today we're gonna show you how to do it meat, but most basic way possible.
Yeah, it's gonna be a simple recipe for a traditional meat. Probably gonna finish dry. Nothing fancy, but also nothing complicated. So if you're an already experienced meat maker, or you've already made a few batches, so you might find this video a bit, maybe a bit boring. But it's basically is for the guys who just want to start their adventure with making meat. So as I mentioned, going to be traditional, based on the polyflower honey.
Yeah, multi-flower honey from Nectarica. So
we've got a little jar here.
we will not use, don't worry, all, but we're gonna use some. So keep watching, and we're gonna tell you all details soon. And traditional meat, what we're gonna make today, it's gonna be only honey, yeast, and water. That's three things what you're gonna really need for today from ingredients. It's more things to make that process.
The process is going to be quite simple. We're going to use, obviously, yeast-wise, we're going to use Lalvan EC1118. The temperature range for fermentation for these is a range in between like 7 to 35 degrees centigrade. So they're not really demanding. The temperature control is not really demanding. And they're quite strong. I think they can ferment up to 18%. But obviously, it all varies, from the honey you're going to use and all that. But for the meat we're gonna make today, I would probably say they're gonna eat all the sugar, and that meat they're gonna finish dry, completely dry.
Yeah, so it's gonna be dry and strong. There's lots of different kind of yeast. You can find them. I'm gonna write few under the video. They all very similar. So you can just use that. What's easier to get. Mostly you can get them on eBay. Well, so that's it about the yeast. About honey, the best honey what you can get is probably local honey, but we definitely recommend for the cheap product and also very good quality Nectarica. It's the Eastern European honey. We're gonna use multiflora honey, and that should give you a nice clear profile of taste and aroma. So. But you can check Nectarica on the website. Again, link is under the video. But any honey it's good. But remember, the cheapest honey doesn't mean it's the best. So always try find a little bit better quality. You wanna drink something what is nice. If you make for yourself, it should be good product. You wanna use top level of all products. So.
It's going to take about 20 minutes for the yeast to activate in the water, so basically just can follow the instruction on the back. As I said, we're going to keep it really simple. We're not going to get involved too much into, obviously, yeast nutrients and all that.
That's not in that video.
You can, and obviously you probably should, if you're going to take your meat making to the next level. But as I said, we're going to keep it simple for, really, really basic recipe. So just follow the instruction on the back of the packet. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to add these yeast to the water and give them about 20 minutes.
We got clear water. A few words about water. You can use tap water. Best if you boil that water and cool down. Or you can use spring water or still water. Don't use mineral water because they usually got lots of minerals what yeast will not need it. You probably need soft water as well. Hard water will be no good. Remember the glass when you're gonna do it, glass or jar. When you're gonna do it, the rehydration of the yeast should be disinfect before sanitize. You can use sanitizer, or you can use just boiling water and leave for.
That's one of the things which we probably should mention at the beginning. The hygiene is quite important because we don't want any unwanted bacteria into our meat. So always try to keep everything clean, sanitized, or as Matty just said, just hot water will also disinfect from any nasties. So all our equipment has already been prepared before, so
you can use this professional sanitizer when you can get them from the shop, or you can just use boiled water and drop your equipment for a few.
Just be careful with the glass demijohns. Sometimes they might break if you put water in them. So you have to be a bit careful there.
Yeah, be careful of that.
Especially this one. This one's quite thin glass. 2 words about the containers which you can use for fermenting. We're gonna use, this is probably 10 liters. Probably we're gonna make about 9 liters of wort of meat. This is a glass jar, the wide mouth glass jar. But you can use absolutely anything. You can use like a gallon demijohn with like a traditional one. You can to be honest, you can even use
for beginning,
the plastic bottle like that. So you can basically just buy the water in this 5 liter sort of a container and use that as a fermenter.
Or when if you buy 25 kilo honey, you can turn later on that nice buckets to your fermenter.
Yeah, that's actually a very good example, because that plastic is obviously food grade, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just obviously clean it, sanitize it before you use, make a little hole for an airlock. That's it, Bob's your uncle.
Airlock, that's maybe we're gonna tell a few words about airlock later on.
So we should start with our yeast, because that's, as I said, going to take about 20 minutes to hydrate them properly, and we put that aside, and then we start mixing honey and water.
Yeah. So temperature of water is about 35 degrees of Celsius.
As I said, it's basically just follow the instructions on the packet.
So what we do is just open the packet. We make 10 liters, so that packet should be enough for something between 5 till even 20 liters of meat. And that's what we do, that's it. You can see they start the drop down. And we forget about that for about 20 minutes. Now put on the side. So yeast on the side, time to mix honey with water.
A little bit about proportion, the honey ratio, honey to water. We will gonna aim to make a Polish sort of a style of czwórniak, which is usually 1 part of honey to 3 parts of water. So for that purposes, we're just gonna use that jar. As you can see, it's got pretty much like it's divided into 4 sections. So we're gonna pour the honey at the bottom, so the 4 of it, and then we're gonna top it up with the water, and that's gonna be our ratio. As I said, we try to keep it simple. Normally we would suggest you to aim for specific gravity, whatever you prefer and all that, but as I said, today it's quite simple.
To be honest, for the first meat I wouldn't put more than like 25% of honey against 75% of water, because that should keep your fermentation very easy and smoothly. You can do it less. You're probably gonna get less alcohol and fermentation gonna be quicker, but I wouldn't do it more than that for the first meat, because you want it quick and you wanna make sure it's gonna work.
And also, if something goes wrong, you're not obviously risking that much honey, because that's the most expensive part of this process, honey. So you can use obviously smaller container. You can use just a 1 gallon, 5 liter, but obviously we want to make a bit more, because obviously we need to share it later. So
yeah, just use honey what you get. If you get from the shop in the jars, it's simple thing to measure as well. When you put 1 jar of honey, you have to put water to that jar 3 more times, and that's your proportion. So, and you just repeat, depends how big is your container.
So
okay, so we put we take that off and we put
honey.
All our equipment is in that pan with hot water. The water was just boiled, and whatever we use, we put that back to keep all safe and hygiene. honey in, and now it's time for water.
We're not going to add all the water at the time. We're going to probably add just maybe the half of the capacity, just to make it easier to mix.
You don't have to mix honey with water in your fermenter, because sometimes the entry is very small.
This is a obviously wide mouth jar, so that's quite easy. But
you can do it easy in a like big pan and then just add to your final container.
We decided to do it this way purely because obviously that simple way of measuring the quarter of it, and it's not going to be too difficult to mix it with a spoon. So we'll start with that, and obviously it's going to take a while. Well, that's the most difficult part of the meat making, and the most probably physically demanding. So yeah, as I said, that's the most demanding part of, of the meat making. Normally, if you wouldn't mix it in this container, if you would mix it in a jar or something like that, or big pan, it's actually quite common and good practice to use a mixer. Handheld mixer?
Mixer or blender?
Basically, there's about two things good about using the mixer or blender. First of all, you helping yourself with a bit of a device, so you don't have to do it all by hand. And the other thing is, by using it, you aerating the must quite a lot. And oxygen is quite important in a first phase of yeast starting to work. They're using oxygen first, so it's actually quite important to have as much oxygen as possible in this jar. Oxygen
for the first week, few days, it's your friend, but after that, it could be your enemy as well. So when you start, lots of oxygen. When you use your spoon, just shake as much you can, and later on, which is gonna explain maybe a little bit later, you don't want any oxygen out there. So. Okay, we still got some space, so I add some more water. We're still waiting for our yeast.
So also meat making, it is a bit messy business in the kitchen.
Sticky.
Sticky business.
What's important as well, never top up your container to the top for the first days of fermentation, otherwise you can get a little bit explosion.
It is important to leave a little bit of a headspace, because especially if you're doing something with the fruit as well, that's even worse, because they tend to work but stronger, a bit harder, and very often you'll find them in your airlock, and
could be explosion.
So,
it's probably gonna happen to you if you go to the meats, but you don't want that with first one. Chris said about adding fruit. That's basic, traditional meat. But instead of water, you can use good, probably organic if you can, some juice. You can use fresh fruits, you can use frozen fruits. You can add some spices, herbs. It's your imagination how you're gonna do it. When you get to the meats, you're gonna find out it's so many different kinds of. But today we make very simple: honey, water, yeast. That's one of equipment what you should think to buy. It's called hydrometer. Basically, it's tell you how much sugar is in your must. With that tool, you can also find out how much alcohol your meat is gonna get in the future, which is, for some meat makers is important, for some not. Most important is, if you get that, you're gonna find out is your fermentation going well. Without this tool, you're basically a little bit guessing. Doesn't mean it's gonna be no success, but if you wanna know what's going on, if your fermentation going well, just buy two, because they're easy to break.
very often, beginners, meat makers, there is in questions. I think my fermentation is tough because there's no action in the airlock. Well, the airlock is not a good actually indicator of the fermentation. This is the only tool which will tell you the truth. Basically, if you're in doubt, you take a measurement, and if in the week's space of time there is no movement at all, that means your fermentation is either done or stuck for some reason.
And then you have to react to risk.
The airlocks, sometimes, you know, the lid might not be completely airtight or something. If you ferment in the bucket, there's a big headspace. There's actually a lot of gas need to, you know, get in before they will pop the bubble in the airlock. So it's not a good indicator of the fermentation. One of the hydrometers, honestly, they cost peanuts. Just get it, basically.
How we do it? We need a little bit sample.
You wanna?
Just get the. How you get sample from your fermenter? It's up to you. Just remember to, when you take sample, keep all equipment clear. Yeah. If it's spoon, if it's range, make sure everything is clear. Disinfect with boiling water or with.
By the way, our hands, we keep washing them all the time, so they are clean.
Yeah. So it's just gonna take a little bit. Basically, you have to take pretty much nearly full.
Is it 100 ml? Why is it 100 ml?
Okay. Enough?
That's enough.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Put the rest back in.
So, temperature should be about 20 degrees, 20 degrees Celsius. And we just drop hydrometer. Best way is you just put it on.
Put it on the table.
And we have
126.
1.126, yeah. And that's, you should remember the best way, it's just write, put some sticker or take the note and just remember, because after a few weeks or a few days when you want to check all fermentation go well, you're gonna check again and that number should be dropped. So basically hydrometer go deeper. Yeah, and that's it what it's about. And time to add our tiny mushrooms, fungus.
So we're gonna pitch the yeast, and then we're gonna put the lid on with the airlock with the water, and that'll be it. So yeah.
Yeah, go on.
There we go.
Should we add a little bit more water, you reckon?
I would keep that headspace.
Yeah.
You know, that's about 9 liters to that rim. So.
So and pretty much that's it. But to make your yeast happy, you should buy some supplement for yeast. We recommend Fermit K or Fermit O. They're very good. And basically, for that amount, you adding about 4 grams.
4 or 5 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, again, if you want to keep it complicated, you can use the complicated protocol, and I will tell you exactly what and when. But just for the purposes of a simple meat like that, if you just add a pinch, basically.
Pinch, yeah. So if you finally decide to buy some nutrition, don't add now. Just wait about 24 hours and then add that small pinch. Yeah. Of course, like Chris said, it's if you go more pro, it is some protocols how to do it, but we want to keep that video very simple, so believe me, that should work. After what we showed you today, you should get Mead. What's probably worst thing with the first Mead is the waiting. Because you're gonna wait for that about 8 months.
I mean, the fermentation should pretty much slow down, and it might be even completed totally in about 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks, depend. Well, what you'll see, obviously, you know, I mentioned earlier about the airlock, right? But you will see the drop in the speed of the bubbles coming, and also you will see a sediment at the bottom. That's where the dead yeast will form a little. You know, it's like at the bottom there'll be a cup of that yeast sediment. So when your fermentation is done, which ideally will be measured with your hydrometer, all you have to do then, you have to rack it to different container. Then you will probably need a little
Then you probably have to invest to something like that.
Yeah, you can get different ones, with the siphons or whatever, or just basic pipe like that.
So after 4 weeks, what do you do? Again, boiling water or in the sanitizer, drop to your bottle. You just take the sip and put to the other container. The best way is to have another fermenter, but if you don't have it, just put to the pan and
clean this one
and add back. Remember, when you do it that, oxygen is your enemy. You want to do it quick. You don't want to splash from the top. You be just gentle and do it as quick you can.
You don't want to aerate that meat anymore. You just nice and steady. That's it. Obviously, after when you do that, you already have a taste of your first meat. So it's probably not going to be what you expected yet. It needs a bit of a time to to mature and to like sort of smooth it down and clean everything.
Yeah.
But it will have some alcohol already. Well, I will have most of the alcohol, if not all of it.
Yeah.
It's important, obviously, in the secondary to still have the tight lid on with the airlock, because there's still the fermentation might be very slowly going. So we obviously want any CO2 going out, but we don't want any air, any oxygen to come back in. So pretty much it.
Your meat should be ready in about 8 months, and after half year you can get it and start drinking. But 8 months till 1 year should be ready and should be very tasty. And pretty much that's it. Just let us know in the comments what you think. Give us like, give us subscribes, and hopefully we're gonna show you some more video from meat review, but also how you do it, different meats.
Okay, that's it. So thanks for watching. See you later.
Bye.